And now let us prepare for meditation.
There is only one of us. In your eyes, it's me I see. There is only one of us. You are my reflection. There is only one. There is only one of us. In your eyes, it's me I see. There is only one of us. You are my reflection. There is only
So we settle into those beautiful words that there's only one of us. We are one with the one. We are one with every single sentient being on this planet, even those ones that we may dislike. We are still inherently one with them too. And so we begin to slough off division and separation, boundaries, illusions about who we are, and take on that new understanding that we are whole and complete. Jesus said in the Sermon on the Mount, be perfect as your heavenly Father is perfect. Another translation is be complete as God is complete. Be whole, be one. Remember who you are. The superscription, the words at the beginning of the Isha Upanishad say, all this is full, all that is full. From fullness, fullness comes. When fullness is taken from fullness, fullness still remains. We are complete. When we give it away, we get more. When we release, we receive. When we surrender, we become one with everything. And so we remember now that we are not beings of limitation, of finite resource, of lack, or of fear. We are beings of infinite possibility, completeness, wholeness, oneness. And I ask myself in meditation, what does that mean for me? How does that inform my life? Because I may know it intellectually, but now I am in the heart. I am open to this truth in a deep way, in the very cells of my body. I realize who I am. And so in the silence now, just for a few moments, intuitively contemplate that idea that I am whole and complete, full, limitless, able to give and to receive God's complete love, wisdom, and providing power. What does that mean for me this day? In the silence, in the silence. And I affirm right now that whatever I have received in that moment of silence is but a harbinger, a beginning of a new understanding that is growing, responding, unfolding in beautiful ways in my life this week. I am attentive to its movement within me, body, mind, and spirit. As I gather that understanding more fully in my whole being that I am complete and whole, I live differently because of that. I give more generously. I laugh more often. I am more joyous. I am victorious over circumstance. I am free. And I am at peace. So thank you, God, for completeness and fullness, the very nature of this universe. I am that. I am one with the one. And so it is.
One power, one power, one power. There's one power invisible, and you see it everywhere and every day. One power indescribable, and you speak of it with every word you say. Mysterious until you know the truth, as simple as the love inside of you. Call it God, Call it Spirit, call it Jesus, call it Lord. Call it Buddha, Bahaluha, angels' wings, or heaven's door. But whatever name you give it, it's all one power, can't you see? It's the power of the love in you and me. One power, one power, one power. We speak so many languages, have different clothing, different colors, different names. But different is only dangerous when we forget that in our hearts we're all the same. We'll remember when we close our eyes and see that such distances were never meant to be. Call it God, call it Spirit, call it Jesus, call it Lord, call it Buddha, Bahaluha, angels' wings or heaven's door. It's Mohammed, it's your mind, it's your soul and it's your sign. It's the universe, it's music, Mother Earth or Father Time. But whatever name you give it, it's all one power, can't you see? Whatever name you give it, it's the very air we breathe. It's the power of love in you and me. It's one power, one power, one power. It's the moment of creation. It's the everlasting peace. It's the freedom of forgiveness. It's the sweetness of release. It's the joy of inspiration. It's the sunshine on your face. It's the birthright of all nations. It's the boundlessness of space. It's the beauty of a baby. It's the serenity of sleep. It's the anger we abandon. It's the love that's most deep. It's one power, one power, one power. What we are is one power, one power, one power. It's the power of the love that lives forever in you and me. It's the power of the love in you and me.
I'm taking it by that silence that I'm up next, right? Am I right?
You are up next. Thank you.
Yeah. What a blast. Wonderful song. Thank you so much for sharing that. That was very inspirational. And what a blast to be here. I thoroughly enjoyed my time with many of you a few weeks back discussing elements of the theology and the spirituality of my book. And what an honor to be invited back. And we're affirming that Reverend Rich is getting a nice rest and relaxation, which is essential. You know, because a lot of work, a lot of invisible work goes on in ministry, not just the actual work that you do. There's a lot of holding the space, holding consciousness, and you know, ministers need rest from that sometimes, and we see them getting that. So I'm here today to talk a little bit about, and by the way, I'm a minister, so you know, once I start, it's hard for me to stop. So I need somebody to give me a timeout when it's time to stop, okay? Because once I get on a roll, here we go. We're talking about an open secret, and you know, they say the spiritual path is the biggest open secret, right? Because you don't see it until you see it. And not just the spiritual path itself, but each level on the spiritual path. You may get an inkling, oh yeah, now I understand, but then you move to the next level and you realize, oh, well, that was another secret, and so secret follows secret. But the thing is to persevere on the path, right? Because just because you don't see it, and I think in the song there was a reference to the invisible, which is all around us, and this is what we're talking about. We're immersed in it, even though we can't see it. A bit like the fish that was looking for water, you know, and yet the fish is always surrounded by water. I think it's the same with us. We're always surrounded by spirit, yes. So that's the first open secret, but there's two more open secrets that are sort of wrapped up like another riddle in a mystery, as somebody once said. And those two open secrets, the first one is our own divinity. Because, you know, in unity, we're good about remembering that we are divine, right? We've affirmed it many times in this service already, but that's not true in general throughout our world. This idea of the divinity within ourselves and others is not commonly acknowledged. And if we're honest, it's not commonly acknowledged in us either, right? We know it intellectually, but have we taken it down into our heart? Do we live from that every moment? And I would suggest probably not, right? We tend to fall back into the idea that I am a human being having a human experience rather than a spiritual being having a human experience. And so it takes work to be in constant remembrance of that truth, yes? And if we're honest, we're going to acknowledge, you know, there's times when it's not the forefront of my understanding. So there's a great quote, by the way, from Rumi, the Sufi poet. He says, you wander around from room to room looking for the diamond necklace that is already around your neck. And he's not talking about getting old, which when we forget where we put things. He's talking about the idea that we already have this beauty, this joy, this completeness, right, that we talked about, mentioned in the meditation time and in the songs as well. We have it within us, around us. It's closer to us. It's right under our noses, and yet often we don't see it. And if I was in my own ministry back when it wasn't virtual, this is the time when I'd be asking questions, because I like to have input from the congregation. That's more difficult in this format. But feel free, if you got any ideas, put them up in the chat, and I'll endeavor to respond to them. So, you know, the divinity is here. That's the great open secret. The intellectual is not enough, right? Just because you know it intellectually, it's not going to change anything. It has to be down in your heart. It has to be in your body. It has to be a visceral experience. And we call that realization, right? You making it real in a deep sense. And I'm not knocking at intellectual understanding. We have to start somewhere, but we need to make it real in our bodies. You know, the early movements of Christian denominations and other denominations got so excited about this because they took it down into their bodies and they started shaking and quaking. And the people around them laughed at them and said, look at him, he's a Quaker. And of course, hence the name for the Society of Friends that became the Quakers, because they were always quaking with this energy. The same with the Shakers, they were shaking, quaking and shaking. And you know, we tend to get that energy going when we fully realize who we are. It becomes, whoa, I can't believe this is amazing. I'm a spiritual being living in this amazing universe, right? But oftentimes that happens and then it fades away again and we forget. So it's a constant remembrance of things divine. The other thing, the second open secret, I think, is the idea that all religions actually teach this. Often at their mystic core, all the great religions of this world are in touch with this oneness. But if you think about it, it doesn't seem that way. There are over 3,000 Christian denominations, I think at last count. There's certainly way more religions, right? And so we see ourselves in very different ways. I was coming back from my granddaughter's birthday party in North Dallas yesterday, and I passed, because we're very religious here in the Bible Belt, and I passed a plethora of churches. You know, there was this Baptist church that was like a huge ark. It was massive. And then we went past the Nazarenes and then another Baptist church, the Methodists, and the Unity was there, the little Unity church. And, you know, all these denominations. And I thought they're all teaching purportedly the same truth, right? That the Father and I are one, that we're connected. And yet so different. You know, there's that division that we have. But the essence is that in all religions, there's this, and I'll talk about this more fully in a little bit, is that we see that understanding of our oneness. This is crucially important right now. These two open secrets are crucially important. And again, I ask you, why? Why are they important? Well, why is it important to know your own divinity? And you don't just know your own divinity, right? Once you discover your divinity, what you realize? We're all divine, right? So why is that so important? Because we've been living from duality, the idea that we are separate from and not one with, for the last, 80,000 years on this planet. And it's getting worse, it seems, in some regards, right? This idea that we're not the same. And we see it writ large in our society right now. You know, the dualism is rife in our society, yes? And whether it's based on truth or not is not important, because people decide I'm different from you and live from that perspective. This is tragic. And so we have to shift the paradigm. Otherwise, we're going to destroy ourselves, I think, simply because, you know, you're going to self-destruct ultimately if you live from a bifurcated point of view, right, of them and us. It cannot continue. And so we have to have the courage to shift that paradigm. The great masters tried to do it, folks. You know, Jesus came along and said, listen, we're all one. What did we do to him? You know, we destroyed him, right? But of course, the truth itself cannot be destroyed. And that's why Christianity or the Christ teachings continue. But nearly all of the great masters and spiritual leaders of this planet taught this same message. But it wasn't very well received because perhaps we're not quite ready to receive it. Movements like Unity are on the cutting edge, but how well known are we? They often say we are the greatest, the best kept secret in town. Have you ever heard that? Because it's an open secret. Until you know it, you don't know it. Until you see it, you don't see it. So what are we to do? We have to get the message out, and you can't get the message out if it's just in your head. The message has to be in your heart, and then you begin to radiate it. So this is crucially important as my message today is take it from your heart and take it from your head into your heart so that you can truly radiate this. And I see from the energy in this group that many of you are already doing this, which is excellent. And continue that work because that's what's going to shift the paradigm. It's also important to understand that all religions actually teach essentially the same thing, because the leaders of these religions often don't get that, right? Which is ironic, isn't it? The teachers have forgotten their own teaching often and come from an aberrative way of looking at their own religion. And it's important, therefore, to study and to have understanding of religions from a unitive point of view. That's one of the main reasons I wrote my book, was I've read a lot of books showing the divisions between religions, but I wanted to write a book that showed the commonalities within all religions and the great principles that we have in unity in other religions. The 5 great unity principles are not unity, they're universal, right? They're the principles of oneness. And you see them writ large in all the great religions. So again, our idea is to uplift all denominations and religions into a greater understanding, rather than seeing them as Nazarene or Baptist or Unity or Methodist. They're essentially helping us to come home to the one in truth, right? And I determined to see that truth within those religions. And I'll be attending the Parliament for the World's Religions in August, which is an interesting organization. I think over 200 religions are going to be there in Chicago. And I've never been to one before, so I'm really keen to see I've heard the energy is wonderful. Unity is doing a workshop with a group that I'm involved with, interfaith and intercultural relations, just doing a workshop at the Parliament. So that's a good step forward, I think, for unity and for everyone. So let's take a dive into what we just talked about, these two great open secrets, right? We'll look at it from the point of view of our human divinity, right? The fact that we are essentially divine, and then also from the idea of oneness and connectedness in world religions. And I'll go through the 6 major religions. Christianity, you know, if you read Jesus's teachings all through the Gospels, he's talking about this kingdom of heaven, right? He's trying to get people to understand what it is, which is the kingdom of expansive good. And they don't get it, you know, because it's right there underneath their noses, but they don't quite understand it. And it can't be this good, could it? Yes, it can be this good. It's wonderful. And one of the greatest scriptures that you'll never hear in many churches, luckily we use it in Unity, is Luke 17:21. Any Bible scholar know what we're talking about? Luke 17:21. The kingdom of heaven is within you. Sometimes translated, the kingdom of heaven is among you, right? And Jesus said, look, don't look here, look there. The kingdom of heaven does not come with observation. It's not something that happens in the outer. It's an inner secret that you must go within yourself to discover. The kingdom of heaven is within you. And really that sums up Christianity for me. The kingdom of heaven is within you. That's the reason they strung him up, because he was saying radical things like that could free you. Let's not be free. Let's be under mind control, right? But the real teachings of spirituality are beyond mind control, yes? They are freeing, they are radical, they are transformative. So in the sense of our oneness, what did he say? The Father and I are one. And I don't think he was referring to his humanness when he said I think he was referring to his essence, his divinity. The Father and the Christ within me, we are one. There is a oneness there. The greater transcendent truth and the immanent truth within me is one, right? I am one with the one. I am the universe in expression. I was watching something from, is it David Attenborough and Planet Earth? And it was the little pufferfish. And it was making a pattern in the sand. Well, what it ended up to attract a mate. And it's a tiny little fish, and all it has is sand and its gills. And it ended up with making this amazing 3-level mandala that looked like something it would have taken a genius to come up with, because it was so perfectly done by this tiny little fish. And I thought, my God, that's the perfection of the universe in action there. A little tiny fish can create a mandala, right? So therefore, this intelligence, this wisdom is imprinted in every single sentient being on this planet, including the little humble pufferfish. So if it's good enough for the pufferfish, imagine what we are capable of. See what I'm saying? So this is the truth here, that we are truly one with the one. Let's move on to Judaism, shall we? In one of my favorite passages, actually, from the Old Testament, in Jeremiah 31, 33 to 34, he says this: I will put my laws, this is God speaking, I will put my law within them. I will write it on their hearts, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. For they shall all know me, not intellectually, in the heart, intuitively. They shall all know me, from the least of them to the greatest of them. What does that tell you? Wow, we're all welcome, right? This truth is for all, and Judaism expressing that. oneness for everyone. And it's going to be written in our hearts, not just in our heads. This is the beauty of this statement, right in the core of our being. My law, my understanding, my vision, my purity, my completeness is going to be written within you. It already is, actually. Yeah, it's just up to us to reveal it, to take that open secret out into the open. There's a story about Hanuman, the monkey god, who's in the hero of the Ramayana, the great Indian epic. Rama's wife Sita had been taken by a demon to Sri Lanka, and it was up to Hanuman to get her back. And because he was the son of the wind and also a monkey, he was able to do amazing feats. There's various stories told in that epic. But at one point, somebody questioned his devotion to Rama, the great god Rama, and he tore open his chest to reveal his heart, and on his heart was written the words of God. Rama was written on his heart. And it's a pretty radical thing to tear open your heart, but you can do these things, I guess, in epics, right? But what he was doing symbolically was saying, here, if you want to know my devotion, it's right here in my heart, right? So it's very similar to what Jeremiah is saying, that it's actually inscribed in your heart. So live from that understanding. So here's another one. It's very deep. Let's see what we think of this one in terms of oneness. This is from the Judaic tradition. Thought is like a mirror. One looking at it sees his image inside and thinks there are two images, but the two are really one. You can contemplate that for a long time, I think. Thought is like a mirror. One looking at it sees his image inside and thinks there are two images, but the two are really one. We tend to project out on others what we think is out there, but it's really within us, right? Because there is only one. But we're good at separating ourselves and not taking ownership. But I think this speaks to the idea that we all have that same intelligence that's within every single person. So that's the Jewish understanding of that. Islam, in the Quran, it says that God is nearer to us than our jugular vein. In other words, pretty close, right? Jesus said similar things, saying that God knows how many hairs there are on your head, right? That there's an intimate connection here. This is again our oneness. God has poured out his presence into us in a very real way. The Sufis say that we are like beggars sleeping on a pallet in the basement of the palace of the king, but we are the palace. And you're settling for a pallet, a little cot in the basement of the great house of life. So what's the next thing to do? Say, ain't it awful? Why am I here in this basement? I deserve more. No, that's not going to get you anywhere. You have to get up from the pallet, from the cot, right? March up those stairs into the great hall and say, here I am. I deserve this. I am a beautiful child of God. So whatever basement we're in right now, whatever fear we're in, whatever disturbance we're imagining for our lives as a result of the craziness around us, because it is pretty crazy sometimes, we need to say, this is not my reality. I'm arising. I'm taking my inheritance here and my rightful place on the throne in this great hall of possibility. Hinduism, the Isha Upanishads begins like this. It says, the Lord is enshrined in the hearts of all. And if you only had one statement, that would be enough, wouldn't it? It's the same as Jesus. The kingdom of heaven is within you. The Lord is enshrined in the hearts of all. Again, what am I saying? Not in your head. The Lord is enshrined in the heads of all. No, the Lord is enshrined in the hearts of all, bringing it down into the heart again. Are we doing for time? We running out? I haven't finished yet. We got to keep going.
You've got another 5 to 10 minutes.
Oh, great. Here we go then. All right. So the Lord, I love that. The Lord is enshrined in the hearts of all. Another mystical statement that is often used in Hinduism is, I am that. I am that. Well, what's that? Well, that is whatever you want it to be, right? Because you can't define spirit. And I love the song because it says, whatever you call it, the Buddha, the Christ, the whatever, it's the same thing. It is that. It is that presence. It is that thing that you can't work out in your head, but you know it to be true. I am that. And that's a beautiful place. That's a beautiful contemplation to contemplate. I am that. Wow, I am mysterious. I am magnificent. I am beyond definition. Yeah, I cannot be defined. And in terms of our oneness, listen to this from the Katha Upanishad. This is a beautiful quote too, I believe. It says, he who sees that the Lord of all is ever the same in all that is, immortal in the field of immortality, in the field of mortality, he sees the truth. And when the wise realize the self, formless in the midst of forms, changeless in the midst of change, omnipresent and supreme, they go beyond sorrow. So there's the affirmation in Hinduism of our oneness, right? Our inherent remembrance of the one. Buddhism talks about the Buddha nature, right? The essence of divinity within us. And I love this quote from the Dzogchen tradition of Tibetan Buddhism, which is a very mystical tradition. And it says this, get your head around this. You can't, you have to take it down into your heart. The pith essence of the great perfection, and that's who we are, the great perfection, is to dwell in the natural radiance of all that occurs, at one with actions, energies, and thoughts, and beyond all contrived boundaries of view and meditation, at ease in the naked clarity of the present moment. At ease in the naked clarity of the present moment. And what does that mean, naked? It means it's not a secret anymore, right? You've taken your symbolic clothes off and you said, here I am a beautiful child. I don't have to hide anymore, right? I don't have to keep it all secret. I'm in the naked clarity of the present moment. It's all here right now. It's all here right now. How are we doing so far? Does it make sense? You see the commonalities here within all religions? It's incredible, isn't it? And these are the core teachings of each religion. I know that there are many teachings on the surface that are very different from, say, Hinduism and Buddhism, Hinduism and Islam. That's true, there is diversity. But when you penetrate beneath the diversity into the heart, then you begin to see that all is one. I forgot one quote actually from Islam. I want to go back to that because I love it. And it says this. Let me find it. This is from a wonderful Sufi saint named Ibn Arabi. He says, my heart, there it is again. It keeps popping up, doesn't it? This idea of the heart. The heart has opened unto every form. It is a pasture for gazelles, a cloister for Christian monks, a temple for idols, the Kaaba stone of the pilgrim, the tables of the Torah, and the book of the Quran. I practice the religion of love. So it's available everywhere in everything. The Tao, of course, talks about it very much so. And let's see. This is from Jiangsu. He was the second great Taoist teacher. And he says, the ancients said, the man of Tao remains unknown because perfect virtue produces nothing. No self is true self, and the greatest man is nobody. Now, see, you don't have to be anybody to be somebody in the spiritual path, right? What did Jesus say? I of myself could do nothing. It is the Father within me that does the work. So whenever you tell yourself, man, I'm cooking with gas now because I am spiritually advanced, you've probably missed something, okay? Because when you are truly advanced, you don't want to claim anything for yourself. There was a great cartoon. I don't know if you've seen that cartoon on Facebook where Batman and Robin are interacting, and usually Batman is cuffing Robin across the face, but Robin's saying, "Oh my God, I am finally enlightened. This is awesome," and Batman's hitting him across the face, saying, "There is no I, stupid. Get back to meditation." And I just love that one because there's no I. You don't say I am enlightened because there is no I to be enlightened, right? Once you realize that you're free, everyone's free, not just you. You're of little account. It's not about your ego. It's about becoming one with the one, and that's a radical statement. That's an open secret right there, that we have to let go of who we think we are to become enlightened. So you can't spiritualize your ego. It's not going to happen. So let's see, wrapping up. I could go on because we just scratched the surface of these open secrets, but I think we've stated enough to prove our point, right? That the scriptures are talking all the time about our inherent oneness and truth, and anything else is added extras later by religionists. By some people call it churchianity instead of Christianity. We don't even like to use the word Christianity and unity often because it has too many labels around aberrant ways of behaving it throughout Christian history. But this ancient wisdom that we're talking about is beyond religion because it's pointed to the heart of who we are and what the world is about. Again, how are you going to do it, folks? What are we going to do this week? I invite you to do two things. I invite you, number one, to stay in remembrance of your own divinity and therefore the divinity of others, right? So it becomes a constant. And that means praying and meditating constantly as much as you can, keeping a silent mantra going within you, in your heart. So you remember that you are divine and that you are one with the one. Everyone is divine too. And so I don't see them as they appear. I see them as they truly are. I don't see surface, I see the heart. And then things begin to radically shift. The second thing we can do then is to see beyond, have a vision of that oneness within everything. Because once we have the vision of it, once we affirm that this is the truth, then the paradigm begins to shift. But you can't have number two, you can't have the vision of a shift until you have number one, and that is a remembrance of the divinity within yourself and all beings. Because then the universe will help you, right? Once you have that understanding in the heart, then the universe runs towards you. I love what the Sufis say. They say, if you take one step towards God, God takes 100 steps towards you. And I believe that's true. When you do this practice, when you remember, then the energies begin to snowball in your direction to help you fulfill what is yours to do. So I'm going to stop now. I hope there was some food for thought there. This has been a wonderful thing to be here. Thank you so much.